entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Coming up this evening, Sebastian named in recent Jeffrey Epstein files. Tonight, the PLP Fort Charlotte candidate responds. We hear what he has to say. Also tonight, F&M Senator Maxine Seymour resigns from the Senate. What's behind her abrupt decision? And Mayaguana parents say they've had enough of their school-age children being left behind when it comes to learning. We hear from some agitated parents tonight. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. We begin with the newly released U.S. court documents linked to convicted sex offender, now deceased, Jeffrey Epstein. The documents are creating a stir in the Bahamas after several local prominent figures were mentioned. Among the names referenced in the material that surfaced today are former Minister of National Security Marvin Dames, businessmen Sebastian Bastian and Adrian Fox. The documents were made public as part of a civil case in the United States involving Epstein and his former associate Ghislaine Maxwell. The records include depositions, email exchanges, and witness statements, many of which simply mention individuals who may have come into contact with Epstein during the years he lived and operated here in the Bahamas. Legal experts have stressed that a person's name appearing in the files does not mean they are accused of a crime or any improper activity. The files that made the rounds on social media today appear disjointed and at times unclear, with portions that do not seem to be fully comprehensible or supported by additional evidence. Those claims allege that Adrian Fox and Sebastian were involved in movement of women and arms. Claims both men have denied. Bastian, who is the PLP's candidate for Fort Charlotte, responded late this afternoon saying he has no knowledge of what is being purported and does not believe the claims will have an impact on his involvement in politics.
I don't know no Epstein. In fact, the closest I come to a stain is the stain on my shirt. The Justice Department explicitly says that any mention of anyone in these documents does not establish credibility. Now, I sympathize with the victims. I hope and pray that anyone that was affected in his crimes are taken before the courts and without prejudice get the full brunt of the law. But other than that, I don't know nothing. I don't have nothing. I haven't met anyone. And my focus right now is on the advancement of my country. Coming up, people, allegations of this, allegations of that. You know, they say dog don't bark at Parker. And, you know, I know what I stand for. I know what my convictions are. I know what I've done in my past and my future and everything else. And I've never done any wrongdoings, and I have nothing to worry about. And if I have no concerns, and if anything, they can ask me whatever they want. You know, I have nothing to worry about. If they want, they can investigate. Tell the cows come home, and I invite them to do so. And I'm just going to focus on my work, and that's it.
Well, the Eyewitness News team reached out to former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis on this very matter. He first appointed Bastian as an ambassador, you will remember. Dr. Minnis told Eyewitness News that Bastian was investigated by the government of the Bahamas and also the receiving countries for his ambassadorship and was never found to be guilty of any wrongdoing. Dr. Minnis spoke with Beyond the Headlines earlier this evening. Take a listen.
Bas was appointed as ambassador under my government. We would have done the appropriate due diligence. We found nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with him. And we appointed him.
Yes, sir.
So we found nothing. All right. So whatever is being said, I know nothing about it. The man was totally opened and above law.
That's former Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis speaking with Beyond the Headlines and Eyewitness News earlier this evening, just ahead of our newscast that wrapped up just moments ago. Well, Adrian Fox is also responding to the documents this evening. In a statement to Eyewitness News, Fox expressed grave concern regarding the recent allegations that are now circulating. He said, "I have never met or associated with Jeffrey Epstein in any capacity. I want to categorically state that I have never had any personal interaction with him, nor have I engaged in any activities that could be construed as illegal, including the sale or trafficking of firearms. It is disheartening," this is Fox, "to witness the rampant spread of misinformation and the ease with which individuals can fabricate news that tarnishes the reputation of innocent people. The gravity of such unfounded claims can have far-reaching consequences, not only on a personal level, but also within the broader community." Adrian Fox says, "I pray for justice for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and fully support that all those who committed crimes, regardless of their status, influence, or power, be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law without prejudice or exception." Adrian Fox says, "I believe it is imperative for all of us to uphold the values of truth and integrity in our discourse. The proliferation of baseless rumors can undermine public trust and sow discord." Fox says, "I urge those who disseminate such information to consider the impact of their words and to ensure their statements are rooted in fact rather than conjecture. Thank you for your attention to this serious matter. I hope to contribute in a more meaningful and responsible dialogue in our society and encourage others to do the same." Well, of course, that was a statement by Adrian Fox, who also is named in those files that released by the U.S. court and circulated widely across social media and the country today. And so we're going to begin right there this evening. When international headlines reach the shores of the Bahamas, I want to bring in my Hot Topics panel this evening, Ellington Ferguson and Glenroy Pratt. Gentlemen, good evening to both of you. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines.
Good evening, Shanique. Good evening, Bahamas. It's a pleasure to be here once again.
Good evening, Shanique, and good evening, Bahamas. Pleasure to be here.
Gentlemen, I know we all have been watching this Jeffrey Epstein matter and its various twists and turns really since his suicide, maybe even since his arrest. Never expected today's turn of events, but the release of those files have named many persons. Thing is, naming persons, whether in the United States or here in the Bahamas, is often shrouded in confusion as it is today and doesn't say what they would have done, the individuals being named. This is the situation as it relates to Bastian this evening, as I'm sure you all have seen. I've seen the files or copies of them. And again, just sort of bits and pieces of information. Your thoughts, though, on how this all played out today on social media and the fact that this Jeffrey Epstein case has landed right on our doorstep?
Shanique, again, I've been following this case. And ironically, I think it was last week, I normally listen to this on a South Florida radio station that keep up with their news and what's happening. And the guy's name escaped me, but this guy was a former journalist of Fox. He runs a talk show now in South Florida. And he was saying to his listeners this morning, "Oh, hey guys, my name has been brought up in the Jeffrey Epstein files." And they chuckled about it a while. Then he went on to read exactly what the email said. And it stated that, somebody was communicating with Jeffrey in an email, and they called his name, that they're going to a function where this Fox reporter is going to be at. It's going to be a crazy moment just being around him. And also, these files may have mentioned people's name, and in many cases recklessly, and we can't all just jump to conclusion because somebody's name is mentioned in these files for whatever reason. I think there's a lot of carelessness in how these things are being put out there. But we as the Bahamian public need to be careful when we read these things and to be careful to pass judgment. I agree that whoever was involved should face the full brunt of the law. But we need to be cautious as we proceed with these things, because a lot of people's names are in there that is not guilty of anything. If you now know, the Clintons are even now in there, they've been called to testify before the House Committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, good evening again. Obviously, these are some serious claims, and obviously, you know, it's seeking to do what it's sought to do, and in terms of damaging individuals and credibility. I don't know if you remember the WikiLeaks file, where there were several individuals from around the world that were mentioned, and there are some persons here in the Bahamas were mentioned in those files as well. And so while there might be that broad scope of his reach in terms of Jeffrey Epstein, who is a scumbag, you find that the reality is that there are going to be some fabrication in some of those leaks as well. And obviously for reasons that we don't know. But behind the scenes, don't just believe that it's just summing it up to, you know, individuals in this country. It's even globally, you know.
Absolutely.
When you look around, you see there are people in Russia that is heavily involved with this Epstein situation. And it's almost as if there was an intent to try to bring down people in different countries and to try to have them on record and have them on file. And so by reaching or being in the presence of somebody who may have some alternative lifestyle or anything doesn't prove your guilt. And so I agree with you know, Ferguson in the fact that if any individual was involved in such acts and those behaviors, they deserve the full brunt of the law, and punishment is well deserving. But you can't just go ahead and conclude that based on the information that is projected that these things are factual and they are concrete in terms of what they're presenting.
Absolutely. I remember just since the weekend with, I don't know if these are the same files or others that were released recently as well, where many United States prominent figures, their names came up, and it was said by news commentators that, listen, that sometimes your name is just mentioned, as you said, for someone saying they met so-and-so, and that is when I stopped kind of jumping to conclusions or forming opinions, because it's like, let this all play out and see, because oftentimes your name is mentioned sometimes for the most innocent thing.
And see, Shanique, one of the things that we've got to take into consideration, even with his weird lifestyle, he was a person that moves around globally doing some whatever other businesses he do. So he would have reached out many people. My name could be called in that for some reason or another. I operate I got to go look in the files in my transportation business to see maybe I would have chauffeured him. We just before I came here this afternoon. London, they're now talking about questioning the Prime Minister, because it's now surfaced that their Prime Minister had some kind of relationship with. So the tentacles are broad as it relates to people up top that he may have had some type of association with. We just want to make sure that you didn't have those lewd and lascivious activities involved that he was involved in, that you wasn't involved in them.
But also, don't forget now, the other side of this equation is the fact that there are millions more documents that are out there. If the documents that they've released thus far have pictures and some gross stuff that you saw,
yes,
imagine what they are not putting out there, and who they are protecting.
And
the chips fall where they may.
And what's been redacted, you know?
Oh yeah, a lot of redacted.
The chips fall where they may.
So it's some serious information out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. But listen, you all, another story that's getting people's attention and talking and questioning. The resignation of Senator Maxine Seymour, of course, catching many off guard today, mounting questions surrounding her decisions. Very quickly, gentlemen, what do you suppose led to her decision to immediately, really, tender her resignation as an opposition senator?
I saw some of the commentary in terms of the fact that she made it clear that, you know, she's paving the way and making a personal decision and all that stuff. And I know some people will look at it with a jaded eye and believe that it was some vaccine scenarios that transpired. The potential reality is that, or the reality is that she may have just cleared the way for somebody who has a longevity in the political arena. She has not offered herself, and she took herself out of the race, and obviously putting herself in the back burner relative to the political arena. And now you have somebody who is now appointed in her stead, who is seeking to continue her political reign. So obviously, it just makes sense from that perspective.
Shanique, Maxine Seymour has been one of the strong voices of the Free National Movement in the Senate. She really stood tall. She stood up on occasion, especially when it comes to issues relating to women and girls. And I must applaud her for the work that she's done in the Senate.
Yeah, she's been very passionate about
this. However, this announcement, I kind of looking at this with question marks. I listened carefully to her wording and it was not something where you're going off and we're going to have a departure party or farewell party. I didn't get that from her words.
What did you get?
I get that there's something stirring up in the bottom of the cup and it ain't hot cocoa. It's cold out there. I wish it was some hot cocoa. But something is stirring up in the cup and it ain't hot cocoa. There's some uneasiness based on her words, and
well, was she
just decided.
Do you think she was forced to make room for Nicole Martin?
I don't think it is that simple. No,
Oh.
I don't think so.
Well, I'll tell you, I saw in the food store a few days ago. Why didn't you nudge me? We said hello as we passed each other. Why didn't you say Shanique? You know.
Maybe she was still trying to work things out at that point.
Glenn,
No, I believe, listen, even if she didn't want to move off the scene at the time, that the reality is, again, if you are asked to do so in the interest of the party, and if you are a supporter and a team player,
Right.
you would do what you need to do.
And she did it gracefully.
And the fact is, at the end of the day, you can't fault her for that.
No, you can't. And because remember, you all, Nicole Martin, it was said to be sort of out front in terms of hoping to secure Nassau Village. That didn't happen. And so I imagine the decision was made very quickly. Seymour has made it very, very clear she doesn't intend on running.
Correct.
Senator, why? And get Nicole Martin in there to try and bring about a bit of peace. Yeah. So perhaps that's just all it is. Do we have time to go and move on to this, you all? Because we have a full show for you this evening. Apparently we do. I'll go until they give me the indication. Anger and anxiety are growing among parents in Mayaguana. We talked about this last year. The parents say what the issue truly is that their kids are not having an opportunity and are being left behind academically. If we don't have time to go to this, I certainly will revisit this. But they want reliable internet because much of it is distance learning, and they are short staffed in terms of teachers being in the schools, and they have had enough of it, you all. Here's Linton Ritchie Jr. if we're going to go to the report.
The ministry promised us this teacher months ago, Miss E. They need a teacher in front of them, not a laptop. It's a disgrace. This is unacceptable.
Parents on the island of Mayaguana are now calling the public education system a failure, blaming their children's plummeting grades on teacher shortages, resulting in an unstable virtual platform students are left to rely on as electricity and Wi-Fi issues persist on the island. In videos circulating on social media, parents at the Mayaguana Comprehensive School sat in a classroom on Wednesday, while a number of children are seen using the virtual platform. One parent can be heard revealing just how much she claims children are suffering.
We already had 3 graduating class of failures. Are we going to go for the 4th? It's almost graduation again. It's a new year.
Disgruntled mother Shanika Murphy making it clear that her children's right to a basic education is at stake.
The internet sometimes are not up, and when it's up, the power is off. My children are failing because of whatever resources they have here in the school is not adequate.
Education officials acknowledging the challenges on their part in the Mayaguana school system, telling Eyewitness News teacher recruitment has been scarce.
PE teacher, a generalist, and math and science teacher. New hirees, when we ask them, would they serve in a family island or would they serve in the South, sometimes they decline our offer.
Director of Education Dominique McCartney Russell says a science and mathematics teacher has expressed a willingness to sign on, but the search remains for a physical education and general education teacher. She hopes to fill the gaps within a 2-week period. Bahamas Power and Light Southern Regional Manager Pedro Marcelo confirming that for the month of January, there were 3 power outages, 2 of which were planned for maintenance, with residents notified 24 hours prior, and 1 connected to infrastructure challenges. And parents say for them, the only way forward is...
We need teachers teaching our children to become leaders. What do they want? Thieves and robbers? Because guess what? That's exactly what's going to happen, because without education, you're not going anywhere in life.
Linton Ritchie Jr., Eyewitness News.
I know we're a bit short on time in this segment, but I just want to bring very quickly Ellington and Glenroy in. Your thoughts about this. And we discussed this on the show last year about the teacher shortage and the internet challenges. Your thoughts?
At this day and age and this time, it's a downright disgrace and shameful that our children have to suffer in such a manner when the resources are obviously around to be able to fix some of the challenges that they have. But I'll also say this. If the government is finding it difficult to bring teachers down there, then maybe find individuals who live there, who want to stay there. Give them an opportunity to train them and equip them to be able to become, temporary teachers or whatever.
Teachers' aides, anything.
Teachers' aid or anything that can support the learning of our children. We cannot afford in our economy, in our world right now, to have our children being behind based on the challenges that we see happening. And this needs to be fixed forthwith.
Absolutely. There's no excuse for this. We have a population of people there. There are students there, and we need to do everything within our power to make sure that those students have a fair opportunity, just like any student in New Providence, Grand Bahama, Exumo, Eleuthera, to get an education. It is unacceptable, and I'm calling on the government to please fix it with teachers, fix it with our power, fix it with our internet, that those children can learn. Give them a fair chance.
I absolutely agree with you all. And then on top, the economy in the Southern Bahamas is burgeoning. You have the port development in Mayaguana, you have backswing in Mayaguana and the Southern Islands. And so, they want to jump in and take advantage.
Who's they?
Glenroy, behave. Listen, when we come back, we are going to shift. You all have seen the stories and the headlines. The illegal prescription drug trade that is now sort of just playing out in the Bahamas. That's a very serious issue. We take a look at that very, very closely with the president of the Pharmaceutical Association. It's all happening right after the break.
Hey, it's your boy Charlie Bahama here at Superwash. And you know how Superwash always have the latest and greatest model of washer and dryer? Well, they thought it's about time they get the latest supermodel as well.
Hey, wait a minute, Mr. Charlie Banana. Just because Superwash always changing and upgrading their machines, I mean they gotta change those spokesmen. They got the newest washer and dryer, and they're always upgrading all their locations. And these 2 models? They ain't got to change. Superwash, they wash you, cleans you, process you 24/7.
Running out of space? We've got room for that. Welcome to Skyline Storage, your trusted self-storage solution. Skyline Storage offers units from 5x10 to 10x30, climate controlled or standard dry. Perfect for home or business. Located in Westfield Commerce Park, Western New Providence. Your belongings stay safe with gated access and 24/7 surveillance starting at $175 a month. Reserve, pay, and move in online. No phone calls, no paperwork. Visit SkylineStorage.com. Skyline Storage. Storage made simple.
Every great idea starts with courage. Every successful business starts with belief.
And every woman deserves the opportunity to turn her vision into reality. The Fox Foundation Women Entrepreneurship Initiative is back, bigger, bolder, and more powerful than ever. This year, Give to Gain honors women who gave their very best, their time, their talent, their sacrifice, and their vision to succeed in innovation-driven and emerging industries.
This initiative is about investing in women who are ready to lead, build, and grow. It's about creating a real pathway to success in a new era of business.
This year's program features 2 dynamic panel discussions designed to inspire action at every level. This year also features a distinguished international speaker, bringing global insight helping to empower women to think bigger and lead boldly.
We're proud to grant over $75,000 in funding to emerging businesses and aspiring entrepreneurs ready to take the next step. If you have an idea, a business, or a dream worth building, now is the time.
Grant applications are open until February 28th. This is more than just an event. It is a powerful networking experience.
Surround yourself with women who means business.
Join us as we give to gain.
Give your best, build what's next, and gain what matters.
The Parliamentary Registration Department wishes to inform the public that the National Voter Verification exercise is currently in progress. Verification confirms your voter details, reduces errors, and strengthens the integrity of the country's electoral system. Head to your nearest verification center with your Bahamian passport and your voter's card to get verified and be ready to cast your vote on Election Day. Your vote is your voice. One Bahamas, one vote, verified.
Coming up tonight, a look at the illegal prescription drug trade and the dangers it poses in the Bahamas. Tonight, the president of the Bahamas Pharmaceutical Association joins me to talk about it. Also this evening, you want to stick around. Ian Thomas and Direct Marketers is here to help you identify the best deals ahead of the weekend. This is Beyond the Headlines. Good evening. I'm Shanique Miller. It's great to have you along this evening. Illegal pharmaceuticals are increasingly becoming smuggled into the Bahamas or being smuggled into the Bahamas, posing a serious threat to public health. Officials warn these unregulated prescription drugs, often counterfeit or improperly stored, can lead to overdose, addiction, and dangerous drug interactions. Experts say the growing trade exposes gaps in border control and puts unsuspecting Bahamians at risk every time an unverified pill is taken. Well, this story has gotten the attention of many, and for good reason. We're going to begin tonight with a story by Linton Ritchie, and then we'll come back and discuss with the president of the Pharmaceutical Association.
Allegations that prescription drugs are being sold without proper prescriptions are putting the Bahamas' pharmaceutical industry under intense scrutiny, and now pharmacists are demanding government enforce existing laws. Veteran pharmacists across the country are calling on authorities to clamp down on the unethical practices, insisting the Pharmacy Act 2009 must be enforced to protect patient safety and the reputation of the profession. The Bahamas Pharmaceutical Association, however, is pushing back, maintaining that the majority of registered pharmacies are operating within the law. BPA President Dr. Marvin Smith addressed recent claims of illegal medication importation, emphasizing that any unlawful activity is not coming from licensed pharmacists.
Medicines coming in from Haiti and this and that. Let's be clear about those things. We know that there's a black market for everything in this country, whether it's fire sticks, whether it's telephone service, or whether it's meds. Those are not coming in for pharmacies, not registered pharmacies.
The industry has been under a microscope since a Tribune newspaper report alleged that some prescription drugs are being obtained without valid prescriptions. Officials acknowledge that those claims are concerning.
I think it shows that some people aren't living up to the standard. This is representative of a small group.
So how can these alleged dangerous practices be prevented?
Proper inspectorate available to police, which prohibits or is a deterrent for persons doing this sort of thing.
Dr. Smith says the answer lies in stronger oversight, pointing out that millions of dollars in pharmaceuticals are imported into the Bahamas each year, generating significant tax revenue. He argues that with those figures, government should be able to invest in a proper inspection and monitoring system.
Successive governments have failed at this. $4.5 million, you can't take $200,000 a year and hire 2 inspectors and give them a vehicle and give them a clerk to work with. That's not impossible.
pharmacist Philip Gray agrees, warning that without a functioning inspection framework, the Pharmacy Act 2009 will never achieve its intended purpose.
I think we are one of 3 countries left in the Caribbean that does not have a proper pharmacovigilance center. It prohibits those persons who choose to do solicit things to prevent and it is a deterrent for such things happening.
Meanwhile, in a statement, the Ministry of Health and Wellness says legislative reform is already being advanced to address what it called, quote, outdated and fragmented laws that no longer reflect today's pharmaceutical supply chains or public health risk. But many pharmacists are doubling down, insisting that new laws are not what's needed. They say the real solution is simple: adequate human resources to enforce the laws that already exist. Linton Ritchie Jr., Eyewitness News.
So there we have it, of course, as Linton mentioned in his story, the Tribune broke the story and it's gotten a lot of attention. You saw the Bahamas Pharmaceutical Association, the Medical Association speaking to this issue because we see the dangers already. And I will ask the president whether or not this is a part of it. But if you've watched anywhere in the United States and paid attention to in certain states what's happening, one, the use of prescription drugs is on the increase, and that has its fair share of issues, in fact, deadly in many, many instances, especially when it's unregulated or you are deciding you're going to take it independently or independent of the medical professionals. And then opioids, that also is a very serious thing. And so we're going to jump in right there this evening and talk about, one, the laws on the book, but just how pervasive already is the sale of illegal prescription drugs here in the Bahamas. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines, Dr. Marvin Smith. Dr. Smith is president of the Pharmaceutical Association. Good evening to you, Dr. Smith. It's good to have you here.
Good evening, and it's good to be back. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, I know, right? I haven't seen you for the year as yet, but thank you so much for being here. This is quite an important story, something that you have taken very seriously. I know that you've spoken with, again, we mentioned the Tribune, and since then you've been pounding the pavement, but I mean, you've been on it before then, right. But that it's come to light and to see that it's increasing. I mean, Eric is gonna insert some videos that we have gotten, thankfully, from our partners there, and just to see within a 2-week span, and this is just sort of a glimpse of what comes in and where it goes.
Allegations.
And so let's just talk about Dr. Smith. Let's just talk about how serious and pervasive is this issue of illegal drugs and illegal, and when we say drugs, well, first of all, it falls in the category of drugs, yes. But illegal prescription drugs in the Bahamas.
So this is the level of seriousness that it has. If it impacts one Bahamian adversely, it's a serious problem because nothing is more precious than the health of a person. What we've looked at from our end, and there are 2 issues here. One is you have a number of pharmacies from the report that we've seen, all right, who have been engaging in illegally dispensing prescribed medications without the physician's prescription. That's what the report indicates.
So just so we know, pharmacists cannot prescribe medication?
No, not in this country, they cannot. All right, they are to dispense and manage medications. Mm-hmm. All right, any drug that falls under prescription classification has to be first written by a registered physician in this country, registered under our medical council. All right, and so it's very appalling and disappointing that some of our colleagues within the profession have taken to this practice. It's a small number.
When you say some of your colleagues, you mean some pharmacists?
Some pharmacists.
Okay,
Yeah,
and this is and by the way, look at this. We were told that by the Tribune group who investigated
Right.
this, and thank you for
Right.
this footage here. But this is just a sample, obviously, of what comes in a 2-week period, a 10-day to 2-week period.
Now that's a separate issue. Those are things coming into the country.
Yes.
Those aren't the things that they're seeing in the actual pharmacies.
Oh.
Okay? Keep in mind, that's why I said there's 2 issues here. One is that our pharmacists who are licensed and registered to practice here, a few of them are not acting to the standard. We have taken on ourselves, having gotten this information, and again, we don't challenge the veracity of the report. We are addressing those issues within our association, within our owners group. I reiterate, and I will say this publicly, what I've said to them in private, all right? Those of you who are doing this make the vast majority of the owners and pharmacists who seek to uphold high standards look bad. We're not gonna put up with it. We're not gonna cover for people. We're not gonna hide people. We said to them, stop. Cease your practices, these illegal practices, and come back to the standards that we're supposed to have. If you do not, you're gonna be on your own. Because I can tell you this right now, if I get a report, and I'm the president of the association, if I get a report, I will be the first one to sign the complaint to get somebody's license. Okay? We're not gonna close ranks and circle the wagons and cover up for anybody, Shanique, okay? Because the person who walks into that pharmacy could be my loved one.
And then trusting, you see, because like doctors, pharmacists, the pharmacist, the one behind there who's actually ensuring and supervising everything, just what you said, we trust them. We place great trust in them. Yeah, we're trying to, some people perhaps try to circumvent the doctor and go straight to the pharmacist. But again, because we figure you got some knowledge going on here and we trust you.
But that's not the way the system works, and it's set up that way for checks and balances. And I mean, you remove any part of that system, it's just as dangerous for doctors to dispense without going to the pharmacies, okay? The pharmacists and doctors work together as a check and balance. That's the best way for patients to get their best health care. And I'll say this to patients. If you decide,
right here,
if you decide that you're gonna go into a pharmacy and try to coerce pharmacists to go against the act, I'm instructing every pharmacist in this country to turn you in, okay? We are not going to break the law. We're not gonna do it, okay? So that's the first issue from there, right? I'll come back to something that I think the government needs to do. But as it relates to those pictures that you put up earlier with the seizures.
Put them up again, up again. Thank you, Eric.
Understand this. These products are coming in.
Look at this. Well, by the way, describe one or two that you can easily identify.
Blood pressure medicines, I see antibiotics. That looks like a worm medicine there. Like, I mean, you know, and keep in mind, I've been practicing 26 years, so I can pick out certain things, right? And these are critical day-to-day pain medication there, day-to-day medicines that people need, all right?
And you mentioned pharmacy.
That one in the box right at the pink box.
Yes.
We give that to young kids as an antibiotic, okay? Now, here's the issue you have, okay? People are bringing these things in their suitcases. They're bringing them in on these flights. They just caught a huge amount on a flight coming in from Haiti. They're bringing them in on these sloops. I don't call them boats, they're sloops, right on West of Esplanade. This is not new, Shanique. And successive governments have known about this, and we've complained about this. Because those products aren't showing up at your shelf in our pharmacy. You know where they're going?
Where?
They're going in neighborhoods and in the shanty towns.
So wait a minute, are you saying that there are houses that act as pharmacies in inner city neighborhoods, in shanty towns and that type thing?
Inner city, upper city, you name it.
Oh, any city.
Listen to me.
Any
I
part
told
of
the
the
story
city.
today on ZNS. I had to get a guy's stuff confiscated because I flew on the flight with him. He told the airline he had an import certificate. At that time, I was the acting director of the drug agency. So any request for those import certificates came to my office. I know I didn't sign it. I called customs from Fort Lauderdale, seized this stuff. When I told him about it in Fort Lauderdale, he cursed me out because I was wearing my Chiefs jersey and my hat. So I guess he figured I was a black dude. I don't know nothing. When he came to my office the next day and walked in and saw the same fellow he cursed out was the fellow who had to sign the paper. I told him, I signed the paper. You brought him in illegally, we seizing him. He was a life key resident.
This is,
and these were expensive injections. So it's happening across
but wait a minute,
neighborhoods.
now wait a minute, now Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith, administering your own injection is now a thing.
You know, he was selling this. This was an injection you take about once a month. He had hundreds of vials in a cooler. So it couldn't be for personal use. He was selling them. Okay?
I want to ask you about opioids. We see what's happening in certain parts of the U.S. Has the Pharmaceutical Association, doctors, medical practitioners noticed any opioids entering the country?
I haven't been made aware of opioids coming in through any of these methods. Controlled drugs are very difficult to import from a registered country because there's this thing called the National Narcotic Control Board, and it literally mandates how much you can import of an item per country. And you have to have that certificate to bring that stuff in, right? Mm-hmm. The other issue for us is what we find mostly with the opioid abuse here is normally patients who are addicted to pain meds. And most of our pharmacies are very close-knit. If they see that there's an issue, they'll call the family, they'll call the doctor. If they think it's a fraudulent prescription, they'll do that. We understand that addiction is not so much a crime as it is a sickness.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
But
so if you're showing up too often to a pharmacy asking for this...
But the word will get around, hey, watch out for these folk. These are drug-seeking patients. Make sure the prescription is valid, those sort of things. So we tend to work very well with our physicians and our clinicians.
So Dr. Smith, you see that we're looking at some medication that were confiscated just weeks ago, in fact, last week and the week before. What are the dangers of an individual being able to access medication like that should come through a doctor, but without a prescription, versus the community doctor saying, listen, this is what you need, take it for such and such a time, or at any, who knows even what the dosage is that they're recommending?
So the issue here is that, one, first thing they teach in pharmacy school, medicine is beneficial in the right dose, useless in a subtherapeutic dose, and a poison in an overdose. So the dosing. These people are dosing themselves, okay? That's a big issue. Two, is the product actually something that they actually need?
That's another thing.
All right, do they need something else to take it with? All of these things.
Would it interact with something they're perhaps on?
They're on. Is there an opportunity for us to use non-pharmacological treatment rather than what we're using? But more so, is the product even good? Is that product expired? Has it been relabeled?
This is what I wanted to ask you.
And understand that the product coming from Haiti.
That is what I wanted to ask you.
You know why the products always come from Haiti?
Why?
Because everybody dumps drugs on Haiti. Everybody in the world says, oh, we need to donate. We got to do a mission trip. We got to do something. And they just come and they dump all the stuff in Haiti. It sits there, never gets out. And then when people are ready to do it, they sell it. That's been happening from I first started working here 26 years ago.
Oh my God, and this is what I wanted to ask because they're coming from Haiti. We've seen what's been happening in Haiti even recently. Surely those drugs cannot largely be out of date or whatever.
I wouldn't stake my next month's salary on it. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't trust anything coming out of the back door, particularly if it's coming from Haiti, right? And that's not to disparage Haiti, that's just...
No, because we see what's there. I mean, if you're going to get I've never heard of people getting medication from Haiti. It just doesn't happen. So obviously it's something. How regular and common it is for whether it's the Life at Key resident, the shanty town, the inner city house, the wherever it is, to be doing just what we're talking about, selling medication.
Listen, my first case in Grand Bahama was we had patients coming in. And they couldn't remember whether they were supposed to take the red or yellow or the red and black. And they brought them into the hospital. And I was like, we don't carry this here. Where did you get this from? And one of my technicians pulled me aside and he said, look, they get that right from Miss So-and-so in 8 Mile Road. All right? And, I was a young, brash pharmacist at the time. So everybody just noticed and nobody cares. Nobody does anything. Well, that's Miss So-and-so, right? I went and made a complaint. We got the police. We went down there and we got the stuff, all right? Fast forward. I just had to report somebody the other day for advertising to sell Botox out of their back trunk.
No way. Advertising to do what?
Sell Botox.
Sell it to who?
What do you mean? To people who want Botox. Out of their back trunk.
You're going to so you sit someplace on a crate by the back trunk while they inject it into you somewhere.
Yes. So And so that's 2,000
another
me as a
thing. So
rookie pharmacist.
Oh my gosh.
And 2026, me.
This is what I heard. I understand there because I've been speaking with doctors recently about whether it's the Botox or any other kind of thing.
Botox, the GLPs, all the Ozempics and those sort of things.
They do that in the back.
Yes. And so, listen, we have to have a proper inspector, okay, at our airports, at our shipping ports, all right? And we need to check everybody coming in.
Everyone.
We cannot do this thing where tourists can walk in here with a tourist visa with 17 suitcases.
We've got to stop that. And they just go, they
and
just
wave them through.
Just walk on through.
You need to know, because yes, if they brought in drugs like coke or guns, that's going to get scanned at the airports. No one's checking if it's meds. And they're coming in with suitcases of stuff. All right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to stop this from happening. The Pharmacy Act right now empowers the minister to appoint a full-time public servant pharmacist to be an inspector for the council. We passed that act in 2009, and we've never had a full-time inspector.
So the borders are bare, meaning the airports, the docks, and then we know the poorest nation we have, and so they can sneak this in any which way outside of the capital of Grand Bahama.
They could, but here's the problem. The more difficult you make it, the less profitable it is, the more chance they're not going to do it.
Yeah.
If I got to bring it in from Inagua, take a boat to Mayaguana, and go here and there and there, they get to Nassau, I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could bring it in right through the Haitian sloop and nobody could pick it up here, or I could walk in with my suitcase because I white and I got blonde hair and green eyes and an American passport, because we talking about Americans, okay?
Because it's coming from the U.S.
And
too.
I got a suitcase full of meds, and no one's going to stop me. You have to have this inspection. The same way you have to have the inspection to inspect pharmacies to make sure that we are living up to what the law says. Enforcement is key.
Absolutely. We are going to talk about accountability and prevention, and also regional cooperation when we come back here on Beyond the Headlines. This is Beyond the Headlines tonight. We are looking at a very serious issue, one that you may say it's existed for a long time. I always go to my pharmacist and get the, what is it called when you have an infection?
They call it the yellow and black.
The yellow and black pill. But as you heard, it really isn't as simple as that, and you might be setting yourself up for some organ failure and even worse. It's something that the Pharmaceutical Association, doctors, and many others are now paying attention to and want stricter enforcement to be given to. This is Beyond the Headlines. We are back right after this.
Welcome to Paradise Premium Foods, where exceptional taste meets everyday convenience. Right in the heart of Hurricane Hole Plaza, whether you're planning a beachside brunch, an intimate dinner, or simply restocking your favorites, we offer only the finest selection of local and imported goods, handpicked for quality, freshness, and flavor. At Paradise Premium Foods, shopping is effortless, service is personal, and every visit feels like a treat. From gourmet meals to go to organic essentials and indulgent treats, this is your neighborhood market elevated. Live well, eat better. Discover Paradise Premium Foods, now open at Hurricane Hole Plaza, Paradise Island. Paradise Premium Foods, taste the difference.
Edenwell has expanded their testing menu.
We now offer blood work, drug screening, and so much more. Our hours of operation are Monday to Friday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., located on 11 Madera Street. We are here for all of your laboratory needs, with fast and reliable lab work done by our friendly and knowledgeable staff. Let us help you take the needed steps to stay in the know about your health. Let's keep working towards a healthier you. Stay eatin' well.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. This evening we are zeroing in on the pharmacy industry. In particular, though, the growing use and, I guess, proliferation of illegal drugs on the streets. And not necessarily, because a lot of it is being dispensed through regular pharmacies, and that's worrisome for the Bahamas Pharmaceutical Association. But also in growing numbers, a lot is also being dispensed or sold out of people's homes and back trunks. You heard in the first segment, Dr. Marvin Smith spoke about people being able to attain Botox. I just don't get it. Botox from someone's back trunk, or a GLP-1. It's like, how do these things even happen? And primarily where these drugs are coming from, Haiti, where the shelf life is not even determined. You see on the screen right now, this is just in about a 10 to 2 week period, and I'll tell you, a 10-day to 2 week period, and I'll tell you this is just really a glimpse of what officials have been able to nab. The pink box is what, Dr. Smith? That big, tall, sort of, right?
See if they can find it again.
If they can pull it out again, it was on the right of the screen, almost like a stack of boxes.
There it is. You have the trimethyl sulfur, and that is an antibiotic we give to kids.
An antibiotic, and you know, that's very common. Bahamians all the time, Mom, just go to the pharmacy, you could get this and get that, because I guess they're so used to taking it for whatever the infection is, they feel that they kind of know the dosage.
And so you give your baby something that could be counterfeit, could be expired, could be toxic, because it's coming from somewhere, anywhere. And no doctor knows, no pharmacist knows, and of course it's a baby, right? It can't tell you, hey, this isn't good for me, until it's too late.
Or they feel this or feel that. Right. They can't put that into words.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the dangers. I mean, really hammer home the dangers of using a drug without the proper supervision.
So first day in pharmacy school, they tell us this. A drug is a medicine in the right dose. It's useless in a lower dose, and a poison in a dose that's too high. All right? Those are the critical things we have to look at. And so let's bring this home, Janique. Let's just say that you go to prayer meeting. You seem like a good prayer meeting, church-going girl, right? You go to prayer meeting, you say, listen, man, you know, my pressure was a little high the other day. Check it, it was 160 over 110. And so good old Deaconess Jones say, well, you know, mine is get like that sometimes. And I used to take this little blue pill I used to get from Miss Sue down the road, and it's way great for me, you know, my pressure's come right down, right? And so you go to Miss Sue, and she give you some of this stuff, right? Problem is, you don't know why Deaconess Jones' pressure spikes. You don't know how long it spikes. You don't know what's the reason for it, right? You don't know what brings it on, right? The dose you can get from Miss Sue could be not enough, and you keep taking it thinking that you're helping, and your pressure keeps rising and rising until it becomes an issue, right? Or it could be too high for you, and it drops your blood pressure so low that you decide now you're taking your nieces out for ice cream on a Sunday afternoon. You take your meds, and your blood pressure drops while you're behind the wheel, and your car goes into the next lane. When you wake up, you got a broken arm, put your nieces in a casket. These are real life scenarios, all right? This is why you have to have a physician and a pharmacist work together. This is critical. Both my parents in their late 70s, okay? I think I'm a pretty qualified pharmacist, right? I've practiced and done stuff all over the world. But you know what? When they get sick, you know what I do? I take them to see their doctor. I make sure they get the lab test. Now, as a pharmacist, I sit with the physicians and I say, hey, okay, you write my dad for this, you write my mom for this, X, Y, Z, so and so, right? But I don't self-prescribe for them. Because I know how important it is to have the right professional look them over, all right? And have that expertise in place.
And this is something you easily can say, man, I know what this is. Come on, this is just a little this or a little that. Let me write this for.
But I can't take that chance. That's my parents' lives. And so what we're saying to the public out there is, you're taking, every time you do something like this, you're rolling the dice with your life. These are real life and death situations. This is why, you know, it's bad enough if our pharmacists are doing this, and that's why we're so adamant that we're going to be a part of the solution and not just cover for folk. But the fact that people are accessing these things in places and from people that have no
idea,
absolute idea what they're doing, okay? It's such a dangerous thing.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and you know, somebody at their house can be doing it. Then the thing is, the majority or good bulk of the medicine is coming from Haiti. You don't know what the issue is there. I mean, for a nation that's been in turmoil for many, many, many months, in fact, well over perhaps about 2 years now, where would they be getting good medicine from has good shelf life?
When it comes to health, Haiti's been in turmoil for 25 years. Here's the issue, and this is why you get this stuff out of Haiti. Because what happens? Everybody who wants to be charitable in the US and the UK, they say, oh, you know, we got to go to a mission in Haiti. And they take all these meds and they just dump them down there. And I'm sure they could use these. Of course, these are all meds that may be close to expiration. These are meds that may not be used in their country anymore. And they think they're doing something good, right? Well, if Haiti had a wonderful operating distribution system, they wouldn't be in the problems they are now, right? So what do you think happens to that stuff? It stays right in the warehouse until somebody decides, yeah, I can sell this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You give me $100, I send you a box.
Yes, that's the danger as well.
Yes.
You're taking something you don't know, which if it's expired,
Has
certainly.
it been stored properly?
Right, exactly. What it's good for, you know, if it's for your issue. And let's just talk about the fact that the Bahamas has these wonderful laws on the books in place that your association itself wrote in 2009, submitted to the government. Key among the things that are missing is a pharmaceutical inspectorate. Talk about the importance of that, especially based on what we're seeing right now in pharmacies and continuing to be dumped on our streets.
So there's two issues here. One is, okay, we want the enforcement. As an association, as members, we wrote and ratified that act that went to Parliament. All right? We fought to put this stuff in. So a lot of people, a lot of professions might be running away from enforcement. We're not. We are saying this is something we want you to do. It is the government's role and we welcome that. That's the first thing. All right? So the enforcement of it, the having inspectors that move around, the law authorizes the minister, and unfortunately, only the minister can appoint inspectors. All right? It's a duty left solely up to the minister. All right? And you know, we import, you know, close to $45 million worth of drugs into this country every year, medicines. Just off VAT alone, that's $4.5 million, right? Even if you take away customs duties and everything else, if you just took the VAT off it, you have enough money to fully fund a good inspectorate and, by extension, a real pharmacovigilance program. And here's the thing. We don't need no pie-in-the-sky stuff. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. In 2011, the Pharmacy Council, then led by Philip Gray, went to the Global Pharmacovigilance Center for the United Nations, for the World Health Organization, in Uppsala, Sweden, brought back all of the stuff. We simply just have to connect to the network.
Right.
All right? And people will be able to go, particularly now that everyone's way more connected than in 2011. It should be 10 times easier, right? We're one of only 3 Caribbean countries to do this. Why?
Why?
And it literally would only cost you, again, a monitoring pharmacist and some administrative assistants. Okay? This isn't difficult. This isn't difficult. All right? And so we have to make sure, Shanique, that we have to put the responsibility where it lies. So there's three things I want to say. One, to the patients, to the public, your health is your responsibility.
Yeah.
So it's critical for you to not play with it, don't gamble with it. And when you go to these undercover pharmacies or even to a registered pharmacy and try to get stuff without a physician's prescription, you are gambling with your life. Don't do it. Okay? To my pharmacist colleagues, we are supposed to be trusted professionals, and the vast majority of us are upholding the standards. To the few of you who've been exposed in this report, and even to some of you who might not have been caught, stop it. Stop it. Your patients' lives are at risk. Your profession is at risk. Your reputation is at risk. Clean up your act, because it's the Bahamian people who suffer the most. And then thirdly, Shanique, to the government, and not just to the government, I'm going to speak directly to my minister, who I know to be a good man. I met Minister Darville when I just started practicing in 2000. He was a brand new pharmacist out of school. He was a grandmama. So I know him to be a good man, okay? Minister, forget what these people around you saying about what you can and could not do. Don't get distracted by these new legislation that may or may not do this. You have acts already here on the books. Minister, go out there, get a pharmacist, get an inspector. We need this now, because enforcement is the other half of adherence. And there are always going to be people in every profession who will only do right because they know there's a punishment for doing wrong. So Minister Darville, let's make this happen.
Yeah. Is there a regional cooperation? I mean, I imagine the Bahamas isn't the only regional nation that's having to deal with this illegal prescription medication. And we have seen the dangers of that on international headlines, how many people overdose and so much other things that can happen. The doctor's right here. But is there regional cooperation where there's some sort of network to try and prevent this from coming from certain countries onto in various jurisdictions?
And this is one of the things that bothers me personally, right? We have all these interactions with the Pan American Health Organization, and they have the Caribbean Regulatory Public Agency, CARFA. This is what they're supposed to be doing, not drug registration and telling us where we can import and what we can't import. They should be tracking things like this to say, hey, let's strengthen how things are moving in and out, all right? Drug registration is not going to do that. Having properly trained inspectors at your airports, at your seaports, and here's the thing, if that means that you have to move them in between, and if something comes in on a Tuesday at the airport, and Tuesday is my ship day, hey, I see that tomorrow and Wednesday. But nothing should enter the country without being properly inspected. Customs is doing their best, okay? But no matter how much you try to train these well thought of and smart customs officers, they're not pharmacists. So you're asking an apple to be an orange. And the best apple in the world can't be no orange.
Can never be an orange.
Okay?
Yeah.
So we need to do these things. And so if we just sit down and start to go back to what was already on the drawing board, the pharmacovigilance program from 2011, it's right there, all right? Go back to the act and enforce what's supposed to happen in the act, right? And not worry about all this little minutia and everything else. If you do those sort of things, you'll clean up a lot of this stuff. And what'll happen is, the more you get out there, the more people will realize this ain't profitable for me no more.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it, because at some place in the system, there are checks that you will meet up to a check.
And this is so critical, Shanique, because keep in mind, these are our people we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay? I grew up in life with Key or Palm Key. Okay? I grew up in Washington Street and Chippenham. Running around my grandparents in Montail Heights, Robinson Road, and Camp Road. So the people who get impacted by this, they're my people. People always ask me, like, why you get so passionate and so intense about stuff? I said, because when I look in that Thursday paper, I never want to see somebody in there that I know that I could have prevented from being in there. That's it. all right? I don't care about politics and all this other stuff. I worry about that sort of stuff, okay? Because these are people who are struggling. This is one of the reasons why the association has so aggressively pushed the government to take VAT off medicines. If you bring, taking the VAT off medicines does nothing for the pharmacists and pharmacy owners. Because we don't pay the VAT. Customer pays the VAT. At the end of the day, it's just passed along tax, right? So that stuff Alcides was talking about the other day don't make no sense, all right? But if you increase pricing, what you do is you marginalize people. And for some of them, that extra $5 or $6,
it makes all the sense in the world to go to somebody.
I go to Mama Sue.
Somebody through the corner
she
down
charged
the
me
street.
25 cents for each red and black, and 10 cents for each red and yellow. Okay? And all I know is I sick, and I can't afford to be out of work because I don't go to work, I don't get paid. These are real life issues that people are dealing with. You know? So we have to find ways to make this happen. Bring down the overall price on medicines. Take VAT off of that. Let's get the inspectors in place. Let's do what we have to do to save our own people.
And let's talk about, just for as we wrap up, intelligence sharing, where if persons know of something, or a pharmacy, or particularly somebody in their house down the street in their vehicle going around selling illegal prescription meds, who should they contact? What should be their course of action?
Listen, if you don't want to call nobody else, call me. All right? I work at the Public Hospitals Authority. Call them, ask for Dr. Smith. All right? I'm the only Dr. Smith there at headquarters. Email the association at bahamaspharmacy@gmail.com. All right? Write a letter and leave it at the door. Tape it on the door at the Pharmacy Council. If you don't want to put your name to it, right? Call the police, Crime Stoppers, whatever you have to do. Again, Shanique, we ain't hiding nobody, all right? Let's do it right or not do it at all.
I agree. I agree. Again, of course, this matter really in the news, in editorials, on opinion pages, all week long after that exposure, interview and investigative piece by the Tribune. And I just, we thought it important enough to want to spend some time this evening with the president of the Pharmaceutical Association to shed more light on this.
And I'll say this, I went to the Tribune yesterday and thanked the editor. I thanked the investigative team. I spoke with Mr. Fields. I said, thank you. We're gonna work on this. We're gonna fix this, all right? Because, if that's what it took for us to get some action, then that's what it took. But we're not gonna hide behind this stuff. We're gonna make sure that as pharmacists, we're giving you the best service.
Thank you very much once again, Dr. Smith. Thank you. Don't go anywhere. Beyond the Headlines is back right after this.